Heavenly Father, we want to dedicate this prayer this morning in the memory of John Fitzpatrick, a former bishop of Brownsville, and everybody he knew, he would always remember their name and call you by name. So Lord, I just pray and know that his remains are now with you in heaven, and for that we give thanks. Lord, we do pray this morning also for our agenda and for our Commissioner's Court. We give thanks for the many important agenda items, particularly in reference to Isla Blanca Park. I know it's heavy on a lot of people's mind and heart and soul that this beach area belongs to all the citizens here in South Texas, if not around the world. But Lord, we thank you for the safety in our parks and our beaches. We thank you, Lord, for the safety on our streets. We thank you, Lord, that no outbreak of any diseases have come to South Texas, and we pray that they'll never come. We also continue to pray for the rains that are coming in moderation. We pray that no hurricanes will ever, at least this year, hit the shores of Cameron County. All this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
¿Qué pasa, mi padrito? ¿Cómo estás?
We have two public comments. One is Suzanne Zerlinden. Is that pronounced right? Is Suzanne Zerlinden? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, good morning. And greetings. And I just wanted to say thank you for saving our beach. It was a wonderful prayer you had, whoever that man was. I've lived in the valley. I'm from Harlingen, Cameron County member, voter, taxpayer, and I've been going to Isla Blanca Park since I was 10 years old. I was brought up there. My kids went, and I hope and pray to God my grandchildren can go. And I just wanted to thank y'all that y'all are going to leave it intact as it is, because it is such a wonderful place for our children to learn of nature and to be able to go freely to learn about our world. And so I just wanted to say thank you for saving our beach, because it is a beautiful natural resource that does not need to be spoiled by buildings and things that a lot of people won't be able to afford. My husband and I stay on the island 3 months out of the year in our travel trailer at Isla Blanca Park, and we save through the year to be able to do that. It doesn't come easy, and so we know there's thousands of others that enjoy it. Even our winter Texans enjoy it, and so I just wanted to say thank you for saving our beach.
Robert, I can't read the last name. It was a bad pen that you had there.
Robert Piernan.
Piernan, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. My name's Robert Piernan. I live in Laguna Vista, Texas. I just wanted to comment on item 40M. Last week you made a commitment to remove Isla Blanca from the lease. I believe you need to establish a firm milestone on when you're going to do that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, just a little comment on my part, not responding to y'all, but I was up there on Saturday, and we need to occasionally take a drive out to Isla Blanca Park and just see how beautiful it is. And when you do that, when you take that little drive, you say to yourself, whatever got into it. So, because it is a beautiful park. There's a lot of nice things out there with a lot of families enjoying the afternoon. And it was a hot day, but it was a beautiful day. So, yeah. Okay.
Judge, I think that we have a visitor in the audience this morning. I know that he was introduced to some of us, and that was Ruben Saldaña with the Extension Service. He's the new District Extension Service Administrator. I know that Dr. Perez had him with him. I'd ask he stand up so we at least know him and find out who he is. Welcome.
Thank you.
We have a great agricultural extension office here in Cameron County. So you're joining a good team. They're caring professionals, people who have spent a lot of time ensuring that the extension office provides service to the community. A lot of people don't know that the extension service does more than just, help farmers. I mean, it helps people, the shrimping industry. It helps people in the community that are in need of learning how to provide care. It helps the youth. I mean, it's just a multifaceted agency that has a bunch of dedicated professionals. So you're joining an excellent team in Cameron County, or in the rest of the Rio Grande Valley, and you're replacing a great woman, Berta, who was there for many, many years, and a great leader in our community as well. And I can't believe she retired, but I guess it was her turn. She's too young to retire, but if you judge it based on her accomplishments, someone like her who has done so much would have to be 150 years old to be able to fit that into her list of accomplishments. But in any event, you fill some large shoes and welcome aboard, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, any other public comments? All right, if not, and I appreciate the Isla Blanca, Save Isla Blanca Park folks here and everything that you've done. And I think your efforts, I think, are largely responsible for the action that we took. And like I said, periodically come and tell us, go to that park, because it is a wonderful place. And we forget, because we get so busy, we don't go out there, how beautiful it is. I mean, it is just gorgeous out there. And so I think we need to be encouraged to go out there periodically so that we don't make mistakes like that one we made, in my opinion. And I commend you for your public service, your dedication, your tenacity, your commitment, and your courage. I really do, and that's what America's all about. And I want to continue to encourage you to do that. I noticed that in the meeting that we had on Saturday, Mr. Lee was talking about how the committee is going to engage in other efforts like helping clean up the beach and things like that. So that is also very encouraging, that it's not just about this one thing, it's about a permanent commitment towards ensuring that our park remains as beautiful and as pristine as it is and it has been in the past. So please let us know. We would love to partner with y'all on any of your efforts to work on this project. And we have a parks board, and perhaps it would be a good idea to have a member from the Save the Isla Blanca Park Committee to be on the parks board. And so what I'm going to do is come back to the Commissioner's Court and ask that we create a slot on that parks board that is kind of reserved for one of your members, and if you can just give us a recommendation, and we'll put somebody from your organization on there, and so that you know what's going on with the park and all the other parks in Cameron County. So, we need a strong voice like the Save the Isla Blanca Park Committee on that board to be sharing your perspective on what needs to be done, and also to be able to monitor these things so that we don't run into this problem again. Okay, so I'll put it on the agenda next week, and maybe by next week y'all can give us a recommendation on someone to be on that board. Okay.
And also, may I say, Judge, there is something that's going to be built in Isla Blanca, and it is a boat ramp. Okay, we're working on a boat ramp that's going to be built there. I think it's been on the planning stages for some time. I spoke to our park director, and Javier Mendez, and he said that we're waiting for Javier. Where are you? Is he around there? Anyway, we're waiting for some applications to be approved, and then we can build a real beautiful.
The Coast Guard permit.
Yeah, Coast Guard permit, yeah. And I like to see that done real quick, and like that, he can reassure us that only that is going to be built. You know, we're not going to build it and then destroy it. So I thought I'd say that.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 2, presentation by Tropical Texas Center for MHMR, or Mental Health and Mental Retardation, regarding construction updates, agency name change being considered, financial status, FY07 funding request. That's why you're here. Collaborative efforts and other successes and upcoming future challenges.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. I'm Terry Crocker, the CEO of Tropical Texas MHMR. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you this morning. I just wanted to give you a few updates on some various things happening with the center. Please feel free to interrupt me with any questions or comments you may have as I go through.
Do you have a handout?
No, sir, I
No?
don't.
Okay.
But I can supply your office with one by the end of the day if you'd
I
like.
just didn't know if it was just not included on my agenda.
First, I wanted to update you on our construction projects. You may know that we are renovating our old building in Edinburgh, and we are building a new building here in Brownsville, Price and Old Alice Road area. We had a groundbreaking ceremony last month. It was very nice, very warm, but very nice. And we have that project underway. We're very excited about these buildings. We think they're going to be wonderful for our consumers, their families, and for our employees. We also are very pleased that the expense of these new buildings will be less. We'll be saving thousands of dollars on a monthly basis as compared to the lease costs that we're currently carrying as an agency. We're very pleased with that as well. So we'll look forward to inviting you and having you at our building opening, which is slated for March of next year. Also, the next issue, with the support of our Board of Trustees, we're currently examining the possibility of a name change for our agency. The name that's being considered is Tropical Texas Behavioral Health. The reason for this, it's come to our attention over time, this has been discussed off and on, that there's a significant amount of stigma that's attached with the MHMR moniker of our name for many of our consumers and their families. So we've been looking at this, we've been talking with our stakeholders, with our consumers, families, our employees, and others, and considering this as a possibility. Also, you may know that the Texas Department of MHMR is no more. It went away in 2003 and was split into Department of State Health Services and Department of Aging and Disability Services. And many other public behavioral health providers have been moving towards that. So we're looking at that at this point and gathering information about that, but I wanted to communicate that to you. Also, in regard to our funding and funding requests for next year, it will be flat. We will continue with the same amount of requests that we've had for the past few years. We're very pleased with that although we had some state decreases in funding in 2003, that we've been able to adjust for that, continue to serve the same amount of people, and in fact, in some of our patient groups, even more. Primarily in our children's area, our children's numbers have doubled in the last 6 months, in numbers of children we're serving throughout the valley. So we're very pleased that we've been able to do that with the current amount of funding, local funding that we have through our different catchment areas in Cameron, Hidalgo, and Willacy counties. I did want to note some recent successes and collaborative efforts that the agency...
By the way, I think it's a real good idea that you do the name change.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's a long time overdue.
Okay, appreciate that, Judge. Some successes and collaborative efforts that the agency's been involved in. We have been very pleased that we've been able to get 3 different grants from the Hogg Foundation over the last couple of years. in partnership with other agencies. We partnered with the University of Texas Pan American last year for a grant that brought people back into services after the state eligibility criteria changed. That grant is currently winding down. We're about to start a new grant with the Hogg Foundation in partnership with the area federally qualified health clinics, the FQHCs, collectively the Valley Primary Care Networks. We were involved with a grant with them for about $1.1 million to do some integration of primary and behavioral health care. We're very pleased about that. We'll be doing some education and training with their staff and helping them to expand services and to expand mental health services into their patient population. And most recently, we were very excited to be awarded a third HOG grant that was announced about 3 weeks ago for over $500,000 that we will be working for cultural adaptation of evidence-based practices. We're very pleased about this because it will be providing services to people with anxiety disorders. It's been many years that the state has been carving out the anxiety-related disorders. With these funding and this support, we'll be able to again bring these people back into services. So we're very pleased about that.
That's one foundation that should change their name.
Name, it might be hard to change.
Well, I'm very happy that they're supporting us, so whatever they want to call themselves is fine with me at this point. We're 3 for 3 with them. I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. King Davis a couple of weeks ago and expressing our pleasure. Again, they've brought over $2 million in support strictly to the Valley in the last couple of years. So
I just don't want people to say that we've gotten too many HOG grants.
That's right. Well, we're going to be expanding out as well and putting the lures in different waters for grants as well. We've been working with Cameron, Hidalgo, and Willacy counties in the emergency offices as we have updated our emergency response plan to make sure that our plans and disaster response is integrated into those plans. I've been very pleased about the communication that's take place with those offices and who knows who, how to contact who's doing what, those sorts of things. I'm very confident that our part will assist in these plans and that, God forbid, hopefully they're not needed this year or any year coming. But if we have an emergency, a storm to take place, we'll have the response that will be needed by our communities. The Cameron County Jail System, we've been working very hard for a long time to develop a partnership with them. I'm pleased to report that is very much getting going. Their staff have been very receptive to getting this off the ground and moving. We're currently receiving daily arrest reports and census information from the jail system. Our staff are taking those and comparing those with our databases to see if there's anybody we can identify that have previously been engaged in our services or that may currently be engaged in our services to make sure as they come out of the jail system, we quickly re-engage them. And we're trying to take that steps further with we would like to begin doing face-to-face psychiatric screenings and assessments in the jail system. So we'll continue working on those collaborative efforts with them to see what assistance we may be able to provide in those areas. So we'll continue to work those areas. The Cameron County Transportation Task Force, I know the transportation of mentally ill consumers has reached this group from time to time. It's a very complex and difficult problem. We're pleased to continue to be part of the efforts to find innovative ways to improve that locally. As an adjunct to that, I believe you might remember in earlier part of this year there were a number of public hearings held that DSHS held throughout the state. We had one in Harlingen that the judge spoke at. As a result of that, I've been involved in some subcommittee work, making some recommendations to them, and it's been reported to me that DSHS will be making a request at this next legislative session starting in January for some funding specifically for the crisis mental health issue. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we'll get some funding for that. Any funding support, as you may know, there's no funding whatsoever right now for the crisis part of the mental health system. So we're hopeful that will go through and we'll be able to continue to improve. But we continue to work with these groups and a lot of the local stakeholders to try to find efficient and effective means to working on that issue. I did want to note that last month we were very proud that Tropical was recognized among all the other community centers throughout the state at our annual conference. We received a recognition and award for outstanding achievement in workers' compensation, safety, and loss prevention. We're very proud of our work and efforts and trainings on our safety programs that's been recognized at the state level among our peers. Some future challenges and other challenges. As This group certainly knows that there are a number of challenges, a lot of funding challenges that have existed for a long time with the public behavioral health system. Many of those will continue into the future. There's a lot more people with needs that we're currently able to serve. We'll continue advocating for more funding. Some of the future things that are coming up, you've probably heard about Medicare Part D. That continues to be a struggle for many of our consumers and their families, even with the great deal of assistance that our staff are trying to give them. Our big concern going into the future are the Medicaid reforms that are being discussed at a federal level, and then how that will be dealt with at a state and then a local level. We continue to keep a close eye on those. Again, we have a lot of people in our community that have Medicaid. Tropical only serves about 38% of our entire patient population has any third-party funding whatsoever. Of that 38%, the overwhelming majority is Medicaid funding. So that is of significant concern to us. Those are dollars that we're able to bill for and then reintegrate back into the service provision that we provide. So that's something we're keeping a close eye on. But with that, in a nutshell, there's many good things going on that we're proud of. We're continuing to work to improve. That's, in a nutshell, what I have today, unless there's questions or comments.
One thing that I wanted to just emphasize to you is at the end of the next year, we have a new legislative session, and one of our priorities has always been increased bed capacity, increased funding for the Rio Grande Valley. We have, 50 beds in the Rio Grande Valley?
Correct.
For a population of 1 million. We have no beds for adolescents, as I understand. And half of our beds that are allocated to us are located in San Antonio, which means there's another 50 beds that none of our folks here really, practically speaking, have access to. It's a grave injustice that the people of the Rio Grande Valley and the families of the Rio Grande Valley suffer as a result of this inequity that the state has imposed upon us in the area of mental health. We want to continue that crusade for equity in the next session, so we would really like to sit down with you and the people from the Rio Grande Valley State Center to map out a legislative strategy on how we can get, we'll never get our fair share, but at least start working towards getting some semblance of equity for the Rio Grande Valley in the area of mental health beds, along with the other aspects of the deficiencies that we have with mental health care services in the Rio Grande Valley that were discussed during the hearings that we had in January. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, the transportation issue is just touched on. One of them, the beds, is a major one as well. And we really need to continue to pursue this issue in a very public way with the legislature. I mean, if they're going to say no to us, let them say no to us to our faces in front of the world, so that people know that if they make that decision, that this legislature is callous towards the needs of mental health problems for our families in the Rio Grande Valley. And I think it's important. You don't have to do it out there if you don't want to, because I know you all have to depend upon the funding of these state agencies. But we're prepared to do that. This is a major issue for us and a major concern that we have, and we've been fighting this fight for a long time. And I want us to continue to fight it, but we need to have access to your information and your ideas so that we can figure out, one, what we need to do, and two, what we think we can get if we push the right buttons.
Absolutely. And we appreciate your commentary on those issues at that public hearing, Judge, and I believe that they did make a difference. They were right on point. For 54 beds for a population functionally 1.1 or 1 million people is
obscene.
It is. And we'll continue working towards that. And that, as you know, creates a number of collateral issues for a number of stakeholders, from ERs to the law enforcement community to everybody else. So we'll be happy to work with you towards that. And we have received a great deal of support from our local legislative delegation, so we'll continue to approach them this year as well.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Mr. Crocker, I'd like to just I think there was an article in the paper a few days ago in regards to the number of vacancies on the medical staff for the organization. I think you had 13 positions and only 4 of them were filled, or something of that sort?
There was an article yesterday on telemedicine that we're setting up, yes, sir.
But it was in reference to not being able
Shortage
to...
of psychiatrists in the valley, yes, sir.
What is your group doing? Are you going to go more towards the telemedicine process, or are you going to be trying to recruit more of the folks graduating to come down?
We're doing a number of things. We have a new chief medical officer on board, Ricardo Iadasari, who was noted in that article. And we have a multi-pronged approach that telemedicine, as noted in the article, was kind of a backup for us if we're not able to get those positions filled. Right now, I believe we have 6 positions filled. And the vacancies we're looking at, as you mentioned, we're contacting different residencies for psychiatrists and for medical doctors. We're involved in the RAC program with the psychiatric rotations. We're also hooked up and have been recently named an agency that can take National Health Service Corps members. These are doctors who have received funding or support towards their medical training and now need to go to a medically underserved area for a period of time to help pay back those loans. We have one physician right now with a psychiatrist on board that came through that. We're sending our chief medical officer and our HR director to that national event next month to talk to them, to set up a booth, make sure they know where we are, and we're already talking with a few of those people because we're set up on their website. We also have devoted, one of our HR people are now spending half their time doing nothing but doctor and nurse recruitment sorts of activities, mail out to different universities, making sure we're hooked up with those, and doing everything we can to work on the recruitment of docs. Although it hasn't been enough, we're very proud of the docs that we have brought to the Valley. A lot of the area physicians, psychiatrists that are here started out in the public mental health system and then have gone on to private practice, work for local hospitals. So we have had some successes in that, but unfortunately we've been kind of a training ground. They come here for a while and then go somewhere else. And we still
have a psychiatrist in Brownsville right now, I think.
That's correct, full-time.
When Dr. left, that was it. There was no one. Right. Only psychiatrists in Cameron County are in Harlan, and I think there's 1 or 2.
There's 4.
There's 4?
4 of them.
At Valley Baptist, there's a few. We have a couple, and the ones at Rio Grande State Center as well.
Yeah.
But it is a significant issue. It's, from what I can tell, it's been an issue for a very, very long time in the Valley, recruitment to this area, and there's a shortage nationwide. So it's more than just a Valley problem, but it seems to be.
So you're utilizing the psychiatric rotations in your operation right now through the RAC?
Yes, sir. And we were actually found out last week that we were voted the favorite psychiatric rotation for 2006 of this past year. So we're very pleased with that. Dr. Gutierrez, our child doc, has been heading up that effort. Has done a great job. We feel it's part of our mission to be involved with training and education of new docs. We hope that has some collateral effect that they may come back to us in being a clinical service provider as well. So we're trying to remain engaged in those activities as we possibly can.
I wanted you to mention that name, not me, though. That's good news.
Go ahead.
I'm glad to see that you're taking a multi-approach because of the fact that, let's face it and be realistic, you'll continue being a training ground.
Exactly.
You'll bring them in and then you lose them. So I applaud you for looking at Plan B to try and alleviate that. Now, did you say that 6 of the 13 positions have been filled?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we have 2 new docs coming in, one in August and one in September.
I have a question, and perhaps you can give me an answer right now. If not, contact my office, because what is the window of time? Let's say that someone comes in needing help, and I know they have to go through an interview, an assessment, and there's a committee that has to meet. What's that window of time before you either tell them, yes, you're going to get help, or no, you're not?
That happens inside of 14 days. That initial assessment will take place, their needs will be identified, and we'll tell them what we need to get them into or whether or not they'll be eligible. Now, from that point forward could be an extended period of time depending on exactly what that need is. But that initial assessment in terms of what services they're eligible for and what we'll be able to provide for them is going to happen by law inside of 14 days.
Okay?
Well, just one question in a nutshell. I think I heard you say that there was going to be more funding for adolescents. Can you elaborate a little
Well,
bit?
our numbers have doubled in the last 6 months. We're hopeful that will happen this year. We're a bit concerned. You may have heard in the news that all the state agencies had been asked to figure their budgets based on a 10% cut this year. We're concerned about that, although we haven't been given indication that we'll be getting any cuts. In fact, we're hopeful that we may be getting more funding because of some of the equity that the judge mentioned that speaks to equity funding amongst the different community centers. We have gotten some of those funds for our mental retardation services this year. We anticipate they'll be coming for adolescents and for adults this coming year, but that remains to be seen.
Thank you, Mr. Crocker.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I wanted to comment one,
Yes, sir.
everyone else is. It's very refreshing to find an agency like yours that does so much and has so much responsibility, and the folks you deal with, to be able to hold your funding request to a flat level. I know it's almost impossible anymore for anyone to do that. So you're obviously doing something very positive with the way you're handling not only your operations, but I guess the whole operation, the patients and everything else, because funding is a very tight situation everywhere.
It is.
Inflation is there, price of gasoline, everything seems to be going up, and being able to hold your funding flat is very admirable. We appreciate that very much. I know.
Thank you, Commissioner. I hope I'll be able to do it for a while
Well,
longer.
we're going into our budgetary process, and maybe everyone else ought to take notice that it can be done.
It helps to have a good board, right?
Exactly, and I do want to thank you for their support there as well. Our Board of Trustees is extremely strong.
John's wife is on your board, Dr. Wood, and I know that she...
She's tighter than me.
She and the other, Adela Garza, are two...
Dr. Gonzalez as well.
Dr. Gonzalez are three board members that represent Cameron County on that board. They're excellent, and I think they've made a big difference in the direction.
They have a huge difference.
So what used to be a troubled organization now seems to be run in an excellent manner.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion to acknowledge presentation.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Rodriguez. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by stating aye. Opposed, motion carried. Budget amendments, line item transfers, and/or salary schedules. Questions, concerns, comments, complaints? There a motion to approve?
Do you have anything to
Nothing to
add?
add.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Minutes, July 27th, June 27th, July 6th. Any questions, concerns, comments, complaints?
One question, were there any corrections made between last week and this week?
No.
Okay. Then
So
I just
moved.
want to make sure that I read.
So moved for
Motion by
approval.
Commissioner Tamayo,
Second.
second by Commissioner Garcia. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by stating aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
Approval of claims.
Too bad.
Claims.
Passed around the list of additional claims to submit, to include in the list. The last one is 163,543, payable to Valley Regional Medical Center. This is pursuant to a settlement approved by Commissioners Court in the amount of $20,000. We're requesting the approval and inclusion of this claim and the release of the check today.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Motion
Note my
carries.
abstention on number 00162923.
And note my abstention on warrant number 00163253 to the Laguna Mountain Water District and 00163442 to Southwest Control. Consideration and action creating the Cameron County Adult Protective Services Special Task Unit and appointing its members. Hi.
Good morning.
I got a list of recommendations, and I don't know who if anybody's got any other people to add or to replace. There's 5 categories that are listed, or 6 categories. One of them is a mental health professional, and I was going to recommend Norma Delgado, who used to be on the Tropical Texas MHMR board, is on the Rio Grande Valley State Center Advisory Committee. On the medical, there's a city alderman from Santa Rosa, America Gonzalez, who works for home health agencies. Domestic violence, Brenda Garza, who is the executive director of
Children's Advocacy Center.
Yeah. In legal, I was going to recommend Gail Kahn. There was a nice little article about her.
Good article about Gail.
Gail on the paper this weekend, and I've known Gail for 20 years, and she's just an outstanding lady. Has
What
worked
was the
with
last name?
Gail Kahn, K-A-H-N. She's an assistant attorney general in Brownsville. And then it says a clergy recommendation. I don't know if he's got time, but I was going to recommend somebody like Barry Jackson, who's up in, he's got that Christian Fellowship Church in Harlingen, right off the loop. Or anybody else y'all might want to recommend. He was our keynote speaker, remember?
Yeah, he was very good.
At the
Breakfast.
At the mentoring breakfast, and just gave an outstanding. He's got a very large congregation out there. They're very much involved in the community as well. And then the financial expert, I don't. Any recommendations on the financial expert?
We need a banker type individual.
That would be good.
That would be good also.
Or an accountant, or... I didn't know the different categories.
You think that Ed would like to serve on this committee? He's been a banker for a long time.
That's the name that came to mind, to me,
But let's recommend Ed.
Put him on there.
Ed Tamayo.
Oh,
Give him
you
something
want-
to do.
Yeah.
I think he'd be glad to serve.
Why don't we put Ed?
If not, he can see.
Is that it?
President.
There's the law enforcement one that we.
Oh, the sheriff, I was gonna recommend the sheriff, and or his designee.
Yeah.
Is that all right, Sheriff? On Adult Protective Services Special Task Unit?
How about Leonard?
How many is there already?
Well, that's the adult judge, the mental health professional, the medical, domestic violence, the sheriff, legal, clergy,
Clergy, financial.
and the financial person.
What about someone from the, like the crisis center
Yeah,
in
that would be
Harlingen?
good.
We can put it, give me a recommendation.
Yeah, I think that would be
What's
good.
that lady's name, the director? Can't remember
At
her
the
name.
present time?
I can get you the name, but
Yeah, I
she
think
runs
that would
the
be good.
Family Crisis Center
The
in
executive
Harlingen.
director of the Family Crisis Center.
In Harlingen,
In
her name
Harlingen.
slips my mind.
We can insert that name. Is that all right? Is that
Yeah,
a
I
good
just
list?
need the list because I didn't
Okay,
catch all
so-
the names.
I'll get you the name this afternoon.
Are y'all all right with that list?
Yes.
We can
Now,
add
can
whoever
we?
you want, huh?
Yeah, could we add one more person
Sure.
from the home health care?
Okay.
I would recommend John Ortega. He's extremely active already, and he's actually county-wide with his services.
Okay. All right, so it'd be Norma Delgado, America Gonzalez, John Ortega, Brenda Garza, Sheriff Lucio, and or his designee, Gail Kahn, Barry Jackson, and Otis Powers. I'm sorry, not Otis Powers,
Ed.
Ed Tamayo.
We'll just Okay, I really appreciate your time, and I gave Remy kind of an example of the appointment letter that you would send to those folks. We just need to determine the first day, the first meeting date. But I'll need their contact information as soon as possible so that I can email them the brochure so they kind of understand what they're getting into and look at what dates would be good for them in August, because we hope to have this first special task unit meeting in August, towards the end of August.
Okay.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Is there a
Thank
motion
you.
to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by
Do I need to
Commissioner
read
Garza,
that?
second by
I can't vote,
Commissioner Benavides. Yeah, you can.
I mean, it's a voluntary.
It's a volunteer thing.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Just tell them to be on time, Edna.
You better read what's expected of it.
Yeah, but in consideration and,
Judge, do you want to defer action on item number 7 until after the executive session? Because it takes a long time to pull the names and number them. People are waiting.
I have to do that.
Okay, can we authorize you to do it while we're in executive session?
The legislative open court. The statute
Open
says
court?
it has to be done, it specifically states the county judge at open court. And they just prescribe the method. Sorry.
If we use that process,
Can we change the process?
we can change the process, right?
Through amending legislation?
Yes.
Judge, I don't know if I'm going to be here after executive session, but I do want to bring something up that was passed several months back on one of the employees that we had that left for about a year and so forth, came back, and she was supposed to have her full seniority, and she wasn't going to lose it, and now she got a letter from the Marquis saying that she couldn't have full seniority. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes, Commissioner, I'm aware of the situation. I'm going to be working with the
Can
legal
y'all-
department to.
Yeah.
Please, because I mean,
Can you have your
if I'm not
people-
going to be here, I want to make sure that is, worked on, okay?
Can you have your people get together with my people on that thing? It's not on the
Okay, got me
agenda.
knowing who else. And that's all I have. I have 2 employees.
All right. All right, any
Make
questions,
sure that
concerns,
she has
complaints on any of the consent items? So, we'll come back to that other item. Any questions, concerns, complaints on any of the consent items? That's items, the move to consent items, items 8 through 38 and 39 is the travel item. No?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Tamayo. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
By Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion?
You're not gonna question any of those, John?
No, I had one written down, but I did some research.
I figured-
I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it, you know? Well, I think that for the public's sake, that we ought to have at least a little bit of discussion on,
Which one is it?
let's see, possibly number 13. I don't know if they're here or somebody here. I think, yeah, there's somebody here, right? They might want to mention something on that.
Consideration of possible action authorizing the Cameron County Sheriff Deputy Association to break public notices and related information on bulletin boards in all county buildings. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought that agenda item should be that we have a bulletin board available in all county buildings for information that can be provided by any employee group or by the personnel department at that location, so that they can have something reserved for them throughout Cameron County, in this courthouse, in all public buildings that we have. And it won't cost us too much to do that, but there needs to be somewhere where they can go to and know, what's going on, what recommendation, what the personnel department is doing, giving them notices, that they know that billboard's dedicated just to them, and that's it.
So that would include all county associations, is that what?
Any county association and the personnel department on any
Because I think that's already
employee-related
done,
issue.
right, on the personnel?
Most our jobs.
Your jobs.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, for
Information.
example, if there's a change in the health insurance plan that people need to be aware of, or there's an issue on health fair coming up, so that the employees can periodically look at the billboard and see this is something that is of interest to me, or I'm going to check to see what's in there, what's going on, so that we can dedicate a billboard to the employees. And then associations can post their information on there as well. But I don't think it's a good idea just to limit it to Cameron County.
You want to amend that?
Yeah, can we? Can we amend it the way I suggested, Mr. Burns?
Sorry, I'm taking a note.
Number 13.
Number 13.
What I'd like to do is amend number 13 to provide that Cameron County provide a billboard in all county buildings that is dedicated to employees for placement on that billboard, any information relating to employees by either associations or the personnel department.
Yes, the consideration of the Open Meetings Act, notice to the public for what we post, and that's sufficient notice. You could amend it to
Well, it wouldn't be just the personnel department, would it?
Well,
It would also be any
entity that has
Right.
information of interest to the employees. Are y'all all right with that? That'll work for y'all as well. I mean, I
As
think
long as you can post.
An employee information bulletin board.
an employee information bulletin board. That
Then
way,
it's there for the public also.
okay?
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's correct. Can I amend it?
Okay, we'll
Motion to that
amend,
effect?
yes, an amendment to change number 13 to read as stated.
Was your motion for all the consent items?
All the consent
Okay. Number 14. I think that we have someone here with that particular, is this Tom Hushen, or who would be giving us this?
Tom is making
Or
a presentation.
Tom
right
Rodino,
now
or?
for
Yeah,
UTV.
it was placed on the agenda by the Emergency Management
Right.
Department. Yeah, it was Tom Hutchins.
Tom-
Is
Tom
there a
is absent
presentation to go with it?
Because he is making a presentation to UTV right now on hurricane preparedness.
But was there supposed to be a presentation?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
just wanted to
Oh,
ask,
okay.
I think it's important for folks to know what's occurring in that department in regards to pre-planning for a potential disaster in the county. And, item 14, 15, 16, 17 all relate to that,
Yeah, that it's a part of the pre-position contracts that the county engaged in several years back, that essentially puts in place the teams of specialists with the proper equipment in advance of a landfall of a storm, so that in the event there is a devastating impact, that already in motion and in place are the crews to assist in the cleanup and recovery efforts. They're pre-positioned to control costs, and then also so that the county isn't trying to get in line with every other community that is affected, and essentially already has their teams in place to assist the county departments with the recovery efforts.
He didn't cover this in any of the presentations here, did he?
He may have touched briefly on it.
I think he had, because the reason it was fresh in my mind, David, was when we had our town hall meeting in Arroyo City, he covered this, and that's why I was familiar with it.
Well, and my intention was just to merely get the message out to the folks that there is a contract in place by the county for debris and for hazardous materials, or will be in place in case of a potential
There's
disaster.
one that currently exists, and we're in the process of updating those contracts.
Right? Okay. Anything else, Tom, that you need to add?
Commissioner, item 32 on there is related to that same program. That's the request for qualifications.
Oh, the opening.
A few weeks ago.
For damage assessment engineers and
Right.
something.
That's the first, that was the first of the series of contracts, 3 attached to PFC. And then you'll have 2 additional ones for monitoring support and management support.
Right. And what all this does, I'm glad you brought it up, Commissioner, is that it puts into place contracts that immediately go into effect after a hurricane hits. so that we don't have to be searching for a firm to get rid of our hazardous materials that are accumulated through a storm or result from a storm, or the debris that is out there in terms of picking it up, where if you don't do this, you're competing in a seller's market after a hurricane, whereas now we do the contract, we know what we're going to pay exactly, we know who's going to do it. They get pre-positioned. When we talk about pre-position, we mean two things. One is actually, because it's a pre-positioned contract, it's in place prior to the storm, but also these firms get pre-positioned close by, ready to go in the event of a storm comes, and then they move in quickly into the community and do what they need to do. And the same thing applies to the damage assessment issue. Critical to preparation for a storm is that you have a team that is going to be able to go there and quickly determine the extent of the damages and help put together the application for FEMA funding. That's expected to be done quickly so that we can start getting in the money necessary to be able to recover. So you need a professional that knows how to do it, that's done it before, that's got all the systems in place to be able to implement it quickly, and that will move in immediately, and that you've already contracted with, so you know what you're going to pay them to do it, and will move in immediately after a storm. And so all that stuff that we've had in place for a long time, but we're simply renewing our contracts.
Well, I think it.
And I just want to point out that you're referring to hurricanes here, and it is certainly hurricanes, but it also covers other types of disasters that we might incur, might happen to the area. Could be anything, not just simply hurricanes, but any other type of disaster that might happen in the county.
It's good, it's good organization. It not only saves money, as the judge has stated, but it's a matter of being ready and not having to have a window of time when you're trying to get it organized. It's already organized. So, and that was fresh in my mind because of the fact that Tom did an excellent job in Arroyo City going through the preparedness that the county was doing. And
it's issues like we see on TV all the time. I mean, the Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, they're just now removing a lot of the abandoned cars there. It took them how long to find a contractor to be able to do that? Now, not saying that's something that y'all would do, but all these things have to be considered when we're looking at what needs to be done after we encounter a disaster of whatever type, hurricane.
And I think Tom has done a good job of going out and talking to groups and talking to organizations to where people are becoming more and more aware.
I just heard in the news he's got something scheduled up in Harlingen.
Yeah.
Soon.
And he's been there before with another.
He's doing a group of about 150 people at UTB right now. That's where he is this morning.
Yeah, so, okay. Anything else?
Appreciate your comments on that. I just wanted to.
Thank you,
I would also, on number 33, I would like, I know Pizza Puro that has not been before us for a number of weeks now. I would like, with the court's permission, to ask him to give us a presentation on what this agreement will do for the county.
This first phase, what we're going to do is look at...
We might read the agenda item.
Consideration and approval of an agreement and work authorization, number 1, with S&B Infrastructure for the Veterans International Bridge at Escalante Expansion Project.
Yeah, what we're going to do on this first phase is look at 3 different alternatives. First alternative would go about 300 feet from the bridge abutment south. The next alternative would go about 700 feet, and then the third alternative would go about 1,400 feet from the abutment south. And what we're trying to do in this first phase is look at the 3 alternatives, look at the cost for each alternative, look at how we can transition commercial traffic into each of the alternatives. The idea is to segregate the passenger vehicle traffic from the commercial traffic. As every day that passes, the problem gets a little bit worse between the commercial traffic and the passenger vehicle traffic. The last 3 days, yesterday, we had passenger vehicle traffic to the middle of the bridge, probably from like 8 in the morning till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. and it's
And that's
becoming
because we
Yeah.
shut down everything but one lane going into Mexico.
it's becoming a serious problem, and the ideal, and I think Commissioner's Court has already given us instructions that, ultimately they want to build the entire span all the way into Mexico. But in order to find a temporary solution to the problem of the mixture between passenger vehicles and commercial vehicles, we're looking at 3 different alternatives. And each alternative, whether we go with the first alternative, which is only 300 feet, even if we go with that alternative, in the future, we can do the entire span all the way into Mexico. And the reason we want to do that again is because, historically, international bridges take years to get realized, especially when you're dealing with the Mexican side. It becomes a little bit more complicated. This will give us an opportunity to, number one, solve our immediate problem, and number two, start the dialogue, which we've already started with our Mexican counterparts. I've had discussions with SCT and Relaciones Exteriores. With the scope that's in your packet was developed by our staff. The fee was negotiated down to that amount, and I feel very confident. The timeline is 60 working days, so probably by the beginning of October we'll be able to go on to the next phase. Now, at the end of those 60 days, we'll have a recommendation from the consultants as to which alternative we ought to pursue. And again, you all are going to get the opportunity to look at the cost for each of the alternatives and then make a decision based on the recommendation from the consultants. We're going to coordinate, most of the coordination with the U.S. Agencies will be done by staff in-house, so that will not be part of the scope of the consultants. The coordination that we need from U.S. Customs and Border Protection will be done by us. Obviously, them as well as GSA is going to get an opportunity to look at the recommendation that the consultants provide to the county once that recommendation is prepared.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you were able to work the scope and the cost of services to what they are, because I know that initially they were quite a bit more.
It was much higher than that.
And I understand that already the preliminary discussions that have been going on with the local federal agencies that operate there, they're looking forward to something like this happening to help ease the problems they have and take care of the traffic much better. And as you mentioned, you were talking about commercial traffic, we're basically talking about trucks.
Yes.
So people,
When you say 60 working days, is that like 2 months, or is that like 12 weeks?
60 working days is 12 weeks.
12 weeks, okay. I just want to make sure that...
Yes.
And just as a side note, Pete and I have continued to have discussions with the Navigation District about their bridge, what's going to happen with that, and because whatever we do here is going to affect whatever they do over there, and vice versa. And it just really makes all the sense in the world for us, for the Navigation District and Cameron County to partner on their commercial truck bridge project, because we've got so many infrastructure projects going on right now that pertain to that. One of the things that we've been talking to TxDOT about recently is building a truck route to the south. On what road would it be?
East Loop.
The East Loop. And the funding is apparently, for the studies necessary to do that, is coming into play real soon, which would mean that most of your truck traffic from the Navigation District would operate on a truck route from the Navigation District directly to the Los Tomates Bridge without violating any overweight laws that are out there, because we would get the necessary exemptions for that route. So, all these things have to be taken into consideration. I mean, if we add another span, is there going to be another span for vehicular traffic, car traffic, or is it going to be another span dedicated to truck traffic? And if that happens, what does that do to the International Bridge project over there? And just there's a lot of factors, and so we really strongly believe that when you look at building, or when you're looking at your international bridge system, that you need to look at it in a cooperative way with all the different entities that are out there, so that there be one system coordinated and coordinating all traffic between the United States and Mexico. And I know that Mexico wants that. I mean, they don't like to deal with different entities out there. It's been a problem for them in the county, and probably is the main reason why they've not been able to build their third international bridge over there, because they're just nobody's talking to anybody else. And you've got Hidalgo and McAllen have one project. FAR's got another project. Donna's got another project. Mission. And you've got the Mission project there. Progreso. You've got 5 different entities working on international bridges, and that just doesn't make any sense. And so we really need to be speaking with one voice here, and that's, you know, we're in dialogues with members of the navigation district to see if we can come up with some kind of a cooperative relationship with them on this issue.
2 other points. One, keep in mind that in reality, we pay for half of this cost because City of Brownsville is our partner, so they pay half of it. And second point, and I think we've brought this up to the court's attention before, the judge has sent a letter to TxDOT with a request. Through the Coordinated Border Infrastructure Fund, we can tap into about $1.5 million for this expansion. And I've discussed that with Mario Jorge already, and like I said, the judge has sent a request to Mario, so we should be able, those can be used for construction. That's actually the third phase, and we're only in phase 1, but down the road, you know, we've got about $1.5 million that we can utilize from TxDOT.
I also have a meeting tomorrow with Amadeo Science to talk about the funding for the West Rail Bridge.
Good. Good success.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you.
And I also have a meeting with Land Commission office, right? When is that set for?
Thursday.
Thursday morning. To talk about the fees at Isla Blanca Park. So,
Oh, good.
all right, any other matter that you want to pull up?
No,
I'm glad you did that.
I just wanted to put some things out
So-
publicly.
So the number 13 is the only one that's been amended.
The only other thing that's not on the agenda is I want to commend Sheriff Lucio and his department. It seems that they are doing a fine job in the community. You know, somebody said they're referring to him as CSI Lucio, you know, so, you know. Yes, sir.
I know Adams Gardens is happy with you in my precinct. I emailed Gus about it.
Yeah. That's not on the agenda.
Deputies are everywhere. You walk into the jail, it's like a brand new facility. I mean, it's really nice. Okay, that's it?
That's it.
All right, further discussion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, is there a motion to go into executive
So
session?
moved.
Second.
That's any further discussion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Now, executive session.
Pete, you're going to be here.
Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Garcia. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Number 41A, possible action on confer with Commissioner Court Legal Counsel concerning issues related to the possible acquisition of real property for the Nancy Building renovation project.
Move the table.
Second.
There's no report at all.
Right. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Matters tabled. 41B, possible action on deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of land for proposed park in Laguna in La Paloma, Precinct 4. Motion to acknowledge report of Javier
So
Mendez by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Garcia. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number 41C, possible action on deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of right-of-way for the West River project.
Move to
Motion
table.
Second.
by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Garcia. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 41D, possible action on deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel number 123 for Primera Road project in Primera, Precinct 4 area. Motion to authorize the acquisition of the property for the amount of $1,203.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 41E, possible action on confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning issues regarding Del Mar Heights FEMA buyout properties. Motion to acknowledge the report of Grace Salinas.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
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 Motion carries. 41F, possible action on discuss tax abatement incentives for company located at the Harlingen Industrial Park in the Enterprise Zone. Motion to authorize Frank Bejarano to go forward with the process of tax abatement incentives for said company.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 41G, possible action on deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 9 for FM 102 General Brant Road in the Precinct 3 area. Motion to authorize the acquisition of the property for the amount of $3,619.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 41H, possible action on deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 12 for FM 106 General Brant Road in the Precinct number 3 area. Motion to authorize acquisition of the property for the amount of $4,750.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 41I, possible action on deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel 13 for FM 106 General Brant Road in the Precinct number 3 area. Motion to authorize acquisition of the property for the amount of $4,621.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. 41J, possible action on deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of parcel number 14 for FM 106 General Brant Road in Precinct number 3. Motion to authorize the acquisition of the property for the amount of $4,388.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Items number K and L, possible action on confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning the status of contract with J.R. Jones and the consideration of liquidated damages, and L for his Commissioners Court Legal Counsel regarding a possible claim against J.R. Jones pursuant to possible claim against J.R. Jones. Motion to acknowledge report of counsel. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, that's just for K, right?
K and L.
K and L?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 41M, possible action on confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning March 15, 2005 lease agreement on Isla Blanca Park with Laguna Madre Enhancement Group to consider termination or amendment of the lease. Motion to acknowledge report of counsel, and I just want to say for the record, just so y'all know, I know a lot of y'all were waiting for executive session, that we've been informed that the Laguna Madre Enhancement Group has tentatively given their approval of the
release of the rest
the
of
release of all the Isla Blanca Park property that was part of the motion last week, which is all the property, all the Isla Blanca property that was part of the motion last week, which includes all the Isla Blanca property that is contained in, which is all the Isla Blanca property in the Navigation District deed. Okay, and the only thing is we're just drafting up the terms of the written contract right now, and that's what they're working on. Okay.
That's correct, Your Honor. There was not enough time to draft it between Thursday and today.
Since Thursday and today. Does anybody have any questions? I know someone suggested we need to do a benchmark and get something done right away, but milestone, I think, is the word that was used. Yeah. And we're working towards that, but we do have a verbal agreement with them for them to accept the modification of the contract as
voted on.
Yeah, as voted on last week. Yes, ma'am.
How long do you expect for?
I think by next week we should have something. Yes?
Yes.
plans to include that little piece of land around outside the park? Did you have that area?
Yeah, the 25 acres outside of the park.
But that's beyond the boundary.
But that's not in the
Beyond
boundaries
park
of the
boundary.
navigation district.
Yes, it was stated in the motion.
Okay. Any other questions?
It is approximate, I'm sorry,
It's approximately 25 acres.
5
Yes,
acres.
ma'am.
We haven't had it surveyed yet.
Excuse me, but is that the wetlands between the Chapel by the Sea and Schlitterbahn, is that the area?
It's to the west, I'm sorry, to the east of Schlitterbaums.
East.
I don't believe it's wetland, Your Honor, but I'm not sure.
It's east and south.
Yeah, east and south of Schlitterbaum. It's not, we don't consider that it's wetlands. But the Schlitterbaums had proposed building a hotel there some time ago, as it was. Okay, but none of that is in Isla Blanca. Isla Blanca Park doesn't cover any part of that.
Motion to acknowledge report.
Okay, motion by Commissioner
I'll second that.
Commissioner Garza. Nobody has any other questions? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 41N, possible action on deliberation regarding real property concerning the possible concession lease between Cameron County and affiliated management systems.
Move to acknowledge report of council and allow him to do an appraisal.
Second.
Of the property
Second.
question.
Commissioner Wood, in for discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Next week, can y'all give me a name for the, unless y'all don't want to be on the board? You give me a name next week. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the agenda that we modify the composition of the board to create an additional slot, and I'm gonna ask y'all to give us a name for that, okay?
7? 7?
Yeah. Okay, motion to adjourn?
No, 7?
Item 7.
Oh, going back to item number 7. Consideration selection of, oh, man.
Just thought I'd remind you.
Members for the Cameron County Grievance Committee in compliance with the Texas Local Government Code section. All right. Do I hear a motion on that? Or do I pull them out and then we name them, or what?
Yeah, and that they're appointed in the order that they're withdrawn, and that we can't get 7. We are authorized to go.
Number 1, Manuel Morales. Number 2, Crystal Delgadillo. Number 3, Reynaldo Avila. Number 4, Patrick Moore. Number 5, Abigail Gonzalez. Number 6, Victor A. Gunnoe, G-U-N-N-O-E. I lost count.
Number 6.
Number 7, Sarah de la Fuente. Number 8, Belia Garces. Number 9, Leticia Schieber. Number 10, Raul I. Garza. That's not your dad, huh?
No relation.
Number 11, Arminda Yvonne Cortez. 12, Fred Fuguera, F-U-G-U-E-R-O-A. What number's next? 13, Maria Victoria Martin. 14, Esmeralda Campos. 15, Maria G. Adams. 16, Cesar Murillo. 17, Santos R. Bermea, B-E-R-M-E-A. What number's next? 18, Lucy G. Hull, H-U-L-L. 19, Tanya Gracia. 20, Colleen M. Kimbrio. 21, Sylvia R. Riojas. 22, Phil Lopez with PH. 22, Hortensia Guerrero. 23, Hortensia Guerrero. 24, John Harrington. 25, Marta Delgado. 26, Harold Hugo Emerson Jr. Is that Hugh?
No. We don't know if it's his father or if it was.
Okay, Frank Brooks Greer is number 27. You would know the name, who that was,
Hugh's
John?
address. That's Hugh's address.
Oh, yeah? Was that his name? Harold?
This is Hugh's address.
That's Hugh's address?
Maybe it's his son.
Andrea Rodriguez is 28. And John would know people's addresses. 29, Veronica Lee Ruiz. It's because he's a real estate guy, yeah. 30, Norma Torres. 31, David Davila. 32, Elizabeth Rocha. 33, Heriberto Rodriguez. 34, Emilio G. Leos.
It's a 12:35.
Oh, it is? What number? 35, Marta J. Munoz. 36, Mary Alice Atkinson. 37, Cynthia E. Pettis. 38, Louis Catherine Davis Yarborough. 39, Robert Cackley, C-A-C-K-L-E-Y. 40, Griselda Lisanders, Lisaunders. And 41, Janice Marie Medina. Do I hear a motion to approve those members as a grievance committee? Second. Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Garza. Any further discussion? Just this grievance committee is a grievance committee that hears appeals that from elected officials that when they disagree with our salaries. Did you want them in a certain order or what?
No, it'll just be.
When they disagree with the salary that we set, they can appeal to this grievance committee. The grievance committee will be composed of the first, how many, 10?
It's a total of 9 public members. You're number 10.
That's what it is. So motion second, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Garcia. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned.